Okay, welcome to today's webcast, tips and tricks to get the most out of ShareVault. My name is John Badger. I'm co-founder and VP of product here at ShareVault. Today we're going to go through 12 tips and tricks that will make you a more knowledgeable and productive ShareVault administrator. So today's presentation will take less than 30 minutes total. Your audio is muted to avoid background noise. So if you have a question, please type it into the question box and we'll answer it at the end. You'll receive an email from us within a few days with the webcast when the recording of the webcast is available. We're going to go through the following tips on managing your tag hierarchy for efficient document review. There's some hidden capabilities within the tag management pane over on the left of the documents page that a lot of people don't know about, and they're pretty handy. So we're going to go through those. You can also, there's some tricks to uploading lots of files into ShareVault. When you have a ton of content to upload into ShareVault, there's some tricks that I can take you through. Also, a lot of people don't realize some of the productivity enhancements that are built into ShareVault around being able to apply permissions, policies, and other settings at once for a lot of files or tags in just a few clicks, or maybe they're aware of some of what can be done, but not everything that can be done. So we're going to be reviewing the tricks there. Another trick that we're going to go through is staging your permissions and policies as your project progresses. It's very common that you divulge information in a typical ShareVault use case in stages. Let's say it's due diligence that you're using ShareVault for. You might want to start with a certain level of both security settings and also the number of documents that are accessible. And then as trust builds during the course of transaction, and as you get to know the other parties that you're working with better, you can open up the ShareVault permissioning. And so we're going to talk about ways to tricks that we can use to stage that that we've found to be quite successful. Also, most of you probably just have one entry page, and in many cases that's sufficient, but in some cases it's useful to have different, let's say, confidentiality agreements, the entry page that you see when you first log into ShareVault. So we'll take a minute or two to talk about some of the hidden features in that. And then all of you, I'm sure, who are administrators have gotten knowledge on how to set up document security policies, but we're going to go into some additional capabilities you may or may not be aware of. So we are also going to cover batch download and batch print. We're going to cover how to create documents with hyperlinks to files within ShareVault. That's a very handy feature, and we're going to cover how to do that. It allows you to create, let's say, a table of contents, or perhaps a document that covers key documents within your structure. And you can, from that document, it can link to documents within ShareVault. So we're also going to cover single sign-on. That's the capability of configuring your ShareVault so you can actually skip the login page and just go straight into ShareVault without having to log in. That would be for only your internal users. And it'll be based on assuming that you have the IT support. For that, you'll probably need to include your IT department in the SSO configuration. We'll show you how to turn on two-step verification, which is a nice way to enhance the security of ShareVault. It's kind of like when you log into your bank account and you have to get a text message from your iPhone, or your cell phone, I should say, in order to log in. This would, that basically is a capability that's supported in ShareVault, and it greatly enhances the security of your content because it makes sure that only the people you want coming into ShareVault are coming into ShareVault. We also recently announced connectors for Box, Dropbox, and Office 365, while also in SharePoint. So you can basically have folders in any of those document repositories and have them synced automatically over to ShareVault. And we'll show you how to connect up ShareVault to these various systems so that you can have a sync set up. And then another powerful feature, it's another type of connector for e-signature, is our DocuSign connector. So for those of you who use DocuSign, stick around to the end, because you'll learn that you can actually submit documents to DocuSign from right within ShareVault, and then the signed document comes back into ShareVault with the signatures and the certificate of completion attached. So it's a nice way to kind of get the integration of an e-signature workflow right within ShareVault. So let's jump right on in. Okay, so we're going to start tips for managing your tag hierarchy for efficient document review. So I'm going to jump over to ShareVault. I'm already logged into this Acme ShareVault, and I've got all these different tags here. I'm going to actually clean up these two tags here, get rid of them. So you guys know how to add tags and delete tags and so on, but one of the hidden features in ShareVault is the ability to sort of rapidly add tags. So I'm going to go ahead and hit new tag, and you can see I can start typing tag. So I'll put in new tag, and I hit return, and it creates a new tag. But you might not know that I can hit tab to indent under that new tag and say new sub tag. And then I can just keep going. Sub, let's say another tag, and so on. Then I can hit shift tab and it outdents, right? And I can do this, and then I can indent again. And so as you can see, it's kind of a nice outliner. You can just type away and build yourself a tag hierarchy interactively as you type. So that makes it really quick and easy to enter tags. And then when you're done, you just hit return, and it creates all the tags that were that you typed in while you were doing this. So and the numbering, of course, gets automatically applied. And then if there's something you want to rearrange, if you want to take this and outdent it, of course, you can use all the tools that you're already familiar with on how to do that. So that's a really quick way to create a hierarchy sort of interactively as you type into ShareVault. But we've gone further than that. Actually, a lot of people tend to have tags arranged in an Excel spreadsheet. You know, let's say it's an M&A transaction or some kind of a partnering transaction, and you've gotten your law firm involved, and they've done a lot of deals like this before, and they have a suggested way in which they want you to organize your documents. Well, first of all, a lot of times lawyers can be very verbose, and they'll put in very large paragraphs of information for each point in your index, and that doesn't really work well in a data room, because in a data room you kind of want these short tag names so it reads well. So what you can do is, let's say it says for one of the tags, let's say it says, you know, publish the consolidated financials for each of the past 4 years, including blah, 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 paragraph that explains a lot about what is supposed to be at a given location in the index. You could actually move that over to this column over here, which is basically your description. And then here you would just put the word consolidated financials, something nice and short and sweet that would work well in a due diligence for a data room. Keep that longer description over here, and you'll see why in just a moment. And then what you can do is select this whole hierarchical index, and you see it's got indentations and different levels and so on. And we'll select it all the way down to, let's say, here. And I'll just right click here and say copy. So I've just copied this hierarchy. And now I flip back over to ShareVault. And at the end here, I hit the add new tag, and I just hit, I'll go ahead and indent and put under this. I'm going to hit paste. So instead of typing into this tag, I pasted it, and it recognized that I just copied and pasted a hierarchical structure, and it's confirming here that I do want to create these tags with these descriptions. So it's pretty slick, right? In just a couple seconds, I created all these tags. So I say create tags, and it's just created all these this tag hierarchy down here under corporate documents. And you'll recall that we had a description here, all agreements, contracts related to stocks, blah, blah, blah. That's under agreements related to company securities. So if I expand corporate documents and go to agreements related to company securities, put my mouse on it, you'll see that it's got that description that's shown right there when I mouse over it. And by the way, if I select the tag and go to description, that's that tag description. And if I want to edit it subsequently, I just double click on it and I can add anything I want here, right? So these are editable even once they've been uploaded. And then what's nice about that is they're also, you can also put documents, you may not realize this, but you can actually put a description on an actual document. So I pick a document, I go down here to description, and I can actually hit edit. It puts this box here, and I can make this be any kind of description I want, and that description is actually searchable. So it shows up. Here's the description. Apply, and you'll see that it shows right up on the document. Okay. All right. So let me go ahead and now we've just covered the tag hierarchy tricks. Let's go ahead and talk about how to upload many files and/or large files to ShareVault. So the publish button, you probably already know how to publish. What you might not realize is that you can actually publish multiple ways. We recommend using Chrome or Firefox because it supports natively drag and drop. So if you're not currently using Chrome or Firefox, you're probably using the Java uploader, which will load automatically to sort of compensate for other browsers that don't support the advanced capabilities of both Chrome and Firefox that allow for that natively in the browser allow for drag and drop publishing. So I guess one big tip or trick, if you're not using Chrome or Firefox, use it because it'll make your because you don't have to worry about the Java uploader. The other trick is if you've got a really large file to upload, structure to upload, you can zip up that structure and put it into a zip file. And then when you drag and drop a zip file, there's some new checkboxes that appear down here. You can go ahead and decompress that zip file after it's uploaded and then create tags from the folders that are in that zip file. So that really is a nice accelerator when you're uploading a large file and folder hierarchy. All right, so there's some nice tips for you on uploading lots of files. I'm going to cancel this publishing and go to the next subject, which is to change permissions, policies, or other settings in just a few clicks. So this works in multiple places within ShareVault. For example, I can select multiple tags by holding down the Shift key, the standard trick that you would use in Windows, or I can hold down on Windows the Control key, or on Mac the Command key to select a discontinuous set of tags. And the same thing would work for files. And what I can do is go in here and make changes to those permissions. The dots mean that there's no change. The checkbox means that you're going to add that group to have permissions to this, and that means you're going to remove that group from having permissions. And then it flips back to dot, which means no change. So you can, and then once you grant permission, you can pick a policy that you're going to be granting to that group. Okay, so that's how you can change policies. Permissions in a big hurry for lots of tags. The other thing you can do is you can, let's say I have a number of groups here. I can select this first group with, let me actually turn all the permissions off here. Okay, I can select this first group and hold down the Shift key, and you'll notice that it checks everything in between. All right, so I've just checked all of these groups and they're all highlighted. And right here, I can pick on a single policy and it applies it to all the groups. So some of our customers actually have hundreds of groups, and you can just very quickly apply that to all the groups that you have selected. So that just saves a ton of clicking right there. I'll show you how you can use it over on the Users and Groups page in a moment as well. So again, multi-select, make the change, and it will apply that change to everything that's selected. And the same thing goes for the Users and Groups page. If I hop over to the Users and Groups page and select, let's say, a group here, I go to permissions and I decide that for, oops, I might have expanded it, there we go. I select, I'm going to hold down the Shift key, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger by dragging this up, and then I'm going to use my Command key on the Mac to select all these different tags here, and then I can change the policy in one go here. I'm going to change all these policies to access original. Oops, my mistake. I did something that deselected it. So I can select all those and change it to access original, and it changes everything that I have selected to access original. Okay, so basically multi-select is a great shortcut from being able to apply lots of changes to lots of items, whether they be tags, groups, or documents in just a couple of clicks. So that right there for a large ShareVault can save you actually hours of time. Okay, now let's move on to staging permissions and policies. So I'm going to go ahead and undo that change. As I mentioned before, it can be very handy in ShareVault to stage your permissions. So let's go ahead and show an example of how you would do that. So I'm going to create a new group, and this new group is going to be a dummy group. And we're going to call this Stage 1 Due Diligence. All right, and then I go to Permissions, and I set the permissions that make sense for Stage 1 Due Diligence, and I hit Next, and I add the group, and then I can create another group. And by the way, these are dummy groups. These are groups that are going to be empty. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this group and call this Stage 2 Due Diligence. All right, and I go to Permissions for Stage 2 Due Diligence. And I extend, and then maybe I allow some different rights here, and you can change your permissions and policy in a way that's appropriate for Stage 2 Due Diligence, and you hit Apply. Okay, so you do that, maybe you do 3 different stages of due diligence, and then what you do is if you've got a new buyer, potential buyer, let's say they're called Wickham Equity, and they've just finished Stage 1 due diligence and they're ready for Stage 2 due diligence, what you do is you select Wickham Equity and you go copy permissions and policies from Stage 2 due diligence. Okay, so basically Stage 2 due diligence is going to be a placeholder group that contains just the appropriate permissions and policies for Stage 2 due diligence, and then you can promote a particular entity's stage by just importing the appropriate permissions and policies from a dummy group. Okay, now let's move on to customizing your entry pages to have different entry pages for different users. I go to the Admin tab. Most of you probably have just a single confidentiality agreement, but let's say that you have, let's say, potential industrial partners and potential financial partners, and you want different agreements for them. What you could do is just double click here and make this be the one for financial partners. And then you could have another special agreement, and we'll call this industrial partners. And then what you would do is here, you pick the groups that are supposed to be industrial partners. You just pick which groups apply. And then anybody who's not in these groups, all the other groups are going to get caught under financial partners. But you can have multiple entry pages. The last entry page in here is going to be assigned to all other groups that aren't mentioned above. So in this case, there is no entry page for administrators. That's the none entry page. The industrial partners entry page is applied to these groups, and financial partners entry page is applied to all other groups. All right, super simple. If you decide to invert these, you can just drag and drop to change the order. And then you would basically, pick the appropriate, let's say Wickham Equity and Worthington Capital are both financial partners, and then all other groups go to the bottom. Super easy to use. All right, okay, so let's go ahead and go over policies and show you how to set customized document security policies according to your business requirements. You've probably already used security policies within ShareVault. Actually, if you're an administrator, you would already be very familiar with the concept. Let's just get you more familiar with some of the other capabilities. You'll notice here that we've got quite a few policies. Most of our customer ShareVaults do not have this many policies. It's just because of the fact that this is a demo ShareVault, and so during the course of giving demonstrations, we have lots of different policies. But there is one capability that we have that isn't enabled by default. So let's go over to settings. You're still in admin, you go to settings, and you turn on screenshot blocking. What this pop-up is telling you is that in order to use screenshot blocking, your end users will have to install ShareVault Reader. We're not able to block screenshots in the native browser-based version of our document viewer. So that means that when a user clicks a document, they'll be prompted to install the software, which is called ShareVault Reader. I would just go ahead and check it. And basically, once you've done that, when you go back to policies, there'll be this new checkbox that says disable screenshots. So if you've got some super secret documents where you want to, basically, disable everything, including screenshots, then you would have this, high security policy. Security. All right, and at this point, when a user who has this policy uses ShareVault, they'll click on it and they will they'll not be able to take screenshots. So let's actually show you what that user experience is like. I'm going to go ahead over to Safari in another browser, and I'm going to go into acme.sharevault.net and log in as Jack. I'll go into Acme Inc. So I go into this vault and I click on the first document that's in here, which is Articles of Incorporation. And it's going to open in ShareVault Reader. And as you can see, I can view this document, but you can't see it because I'm sharing the screen with you. But the screenshot blocking is actually working in the course of this webinar. So that's ShareVault Reader doing its trick of preventing screenshots. All right, so I'll go ahead and quit out of this, and we'll go back to admin. And let's talk about the other aspect of the policies that you might not be aware of, which is the expiration date. So I can create a new policy called expires end of Q3, right? And maybe it's another policy that has all this security, and then I'm going to go ahead and turn on expiration, and let's pick end of Q3, September 30th at midnight. And so basically what will happen is all documents that have this policy assigned will basically lose permission to whatever user is assigned this or group that's assigned this policy, and then they won't have permission to those documents anymore. And this is a great way to enforce deadlines in the course of, for example, in the course of due diligence or other types of deal making. Now let's go into batch download and batch print. This is actually a feature for your end users, but I'll explain first how you would enable it. So in admin under policies, you can go ahead and allow your end users to save. So you would uncheck the disable save, and that would allow your end users to download documents. And you might think, well, I don't want them to download documents because then I won't know they have them and they'll have them forever. And that's not true. With ShareVault, as long as the PDF track checkbox is checked, then you can withdraw the right for your end users to open documents, even if they've already downloaded them. For large due diligence projects, this could actually accelerate the pace of due diligence because it allows them to download the documents, large documents, to their desktop for faster review. You can also allow for print. If you've got PDF track enabled, disable print. If you uncheck that, it allows people to print. Of course, you might not want them to, but it allows people to print, but they can't print to PDF. They can only print to paper, to a real printer. So once you've got that enabled and you go over to the documents page, your end users can, for example, select everything under corporate documents and then hit select all. and they've got this zip file that allows them to batch download in that encrypted form that allows you to withdraw the right to open the files that are in the zip file at any time, and they can batch download. They can also batch print, and this is super useful for lawyers. Let's say at the end of a transaction, you want your the other party wants their lawyers to be able to print the documents. That's very common. There's a batch print feature that basically will include a table of contents and print page numbers and separator pages within the single printable document. As an admin, it's coming out as a single printable PDF, but as an end user, it would come out into ShareVault Reader in a way that only allows them to print. They don't get a copy of the document. Now let's talk about how to create documents with hyperlinks to files within ShareVault. I'm in Microsoft Word here, and I've got 3 key documents that I'd like to call people's attention to. I want to publish this document into ShareVault and have these 3 different documents that are also in ShareVault hyperlinked. So what I do is I right-click on this document and I say hyperlink in Microsoft Word, and I go into this select here, and I've got this folder called key documents. So I've got a document that I'm currently editing called keydocuments.docx, and in the same folder, I've got key documents. I double click on it and I select financial overview and I hit open, okay. And you would do that same thing for these other 3 documents, right? So I'll do one more just to give you the idea, hyperlink. And this one is the patent list. So I'll go into key documents, patent list, okay. All right, so you get the idea. Now I've got 2 documents that are hyperlinked and I just hit save. And now I go over into ShareVault, I hit publish, I come to key documents, which is that folder that I just created that has within it the document and then I ignore that, and then I put this, let's say, at the bottom of my hierarchy here. All right, so there's key documents, and I hit publish. And because the documents will refer to a list of documents that are linked within ShareVault appropriately, it's going to open those documents as a hyperlink. So now if I go to key documents and I go to this document called key documents, it opens. And here's a hyperlink, and I click the hyperlink. So basically, the hyperlink opens the referred to document right within ShareVault. So you can kind of create a nice guide that contains hyperlinks. Okay, so now let's talk about how you can use SSO to configure ShareVault so that you can skip the login page for your internal users. So if this SSO does not appear in your ShareVault, please contact ShareVault support to have SSO enabled. By the way, that might also be true for your 2-step verification. You may have to ask ShareVault to have that enabled. So SSO is something that you'll need to work with your IT department to have implemented. It's possible that every day you log into either Okta or OneLogin or some other custom identity provider, which is a standard type of software that many medium to large size companies would typically have in their IT infrastructure. And if it's Okta or OneLogin or custom identity provider, your IT department will probably know exactly what to put into these 2 fields. And then once your IT department has this all filled out and hits save, you'll be able to log in right from within your Okta page or your OneLogin page, and you click ShareVault and it goes straight. They like to have what's called IT governance, so that, for example, if an employee leaves the company, they can turn off access to all company IT resources, including ShareVault, by using SSO. Okay, let's hop over to the admin page to show off some of the other capabilities that ShareVault has that you might not be aware of. So let's go to admin authentication. And A lot of people don't have this turned on, but you can turn on two-step verification, and it greatly enhances the security of your ShareVault configuration. Once you enable two-step verification, you can decide how often you want to enforce it. You know, for example, if you've received a text message and done that sort of two-step verification, you can require it every 30 days or 10 days or whatever frequency makes sense to you. 30 days is a good one. That's kind of a default that's out there. And then you'll notice that if I go over to users and groups page, there's this new checkbox here called two-step verification that shows up when you do that. Now, if I say require 2SV for all existing users and I say yes, that's what that button does. Now it checks all those checkboxes for me, so I don't have to do it manually. So now all these different users in your ShareVault, in order to access ShareVault, they'll have to go through a process that requires them to receive a text message, which significantly enhances the security of your ShareVault configuration. Now let's take a look at another recent feature that we've added to ShareVault, which is our enhanced connectors. So under connectors, these are some different connectors that I've already gotten in this demo ShareVault. You can add connectors to Office 365, Dropbox, SharePoint, Box, or DocuSign. So you can basically, it's very quick and easy to configure these connectors. What I'm going to do, when you connect to any of these but DocuSign, what it does is it provides an ability to sync a folder within, for example, Box, to your ShareVault account, and then use that synced folder through ShareVault to share externally with the higher degree of security that you have, document control and security that you get. The other thing you can do is integrate DocuSign. So here I've got a DocuSign connector. I've already got it set up and authorized. And because of that, what I can do is go into a document here on the ShareVault file list. Let me go up here. And let's say that we've just had a board meeting and there are some minutes from this board meeting that I want to be able to send into DocuSign. So because I've connected the DocuSign connector, I just do send to DocuSign, and it opens up right within ShareVault a DocuSign workflow, and I can add recipients to this, and I can add multiple recipients. But let's say I just want one person, John Badger, to sign this, and I just drag and drop the typical drag and drop configuration of DocuSign, and then I just say send, and boom, it goes through and goes through the workflow. And then what happens is after all the signatures are done, you can have multiple signatures, it'll come back into ShareVault fully signed. So that's a really powerful capability. And so I think that covers it. We've gone through all the tips and tricks, and appreciate your time today and learning the kind of advanced capabilities that we have now at ShareVault.